All right, let's see here. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I just had some technical difficulties, as does happen with technology. But of course, we're all very compassionate because we've all experienced it on some level. How could we not? Gotta bring the lighting in. There we go. That'll do it. All right, it's windy here in Vegas today, but we're gonna just roll with it because that's what we do. We roll with things. So, hello and welcome. Today is kind of exciting because we're going to be talking about AI and the use of AI in order to, and I said this yesterday and I thought it was such a great way to kind of say it, in order to energize, optimize, and systematize our life and business. And so what I mean by that is, hold on, I have a friend asking to join. The _Jess Hoffman. If you don't already follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is the_Jess Hoffman. Hopefully our friend will be meeting us. That will be very exciting. Okay, we're off to quite the start here in the first minute. But again, thank you for this time. This is what happens when it's live. So we're still working on optimizing the experience. But something that I want to bring to attention. So this session is on goal setting, right? This is where we want to be very thoughtful and intentional with what it is that we actually want to do and achieve throughout the day. So at our 5:45 a.m. session, we set our minds, we get clear, we journal, whatever we need to do to become more mindful and set our minds straight for the day. Then we move our bodies, ideally. That's an ideal moment, or morning. And then at this session, what we're doing is we're really thinking through like, okay, if I want to go from point A to point B, I don't know if you've noticed this, but do you see this logo? That is my logo. All right. You see how there's switchbacks to the mountains? And then you peek through, and this is the current reality. And if you just keep spinning and you just keep going, you climb through the top. Well, I developed this logo based on my experience of when I was 24 years old, cycling across the United States. And I swear to you, as I would go, I would just be, just keep spinning, 1 foot ahead of the other, 1 foot ahead of the other. Like I chanted those to myself. I can't even tell you thousands of times, what felt like hundreds of hours worth of just chanting as I climbed up these mountains. The reason why we want to be goal setting every day and getting really, really, really specific with what we want to do and execute is one, what you measure gets improved. So if we are measuring our outputs for the day at the end of 3 months when we have not achieved said results, we can look back and say, oh, maybe I need to, this is what I actually did. What do I need to do now? And then we can adjust accordingly. So what I mean by that is, hold on, I have one other person saying, and what I mean by that, is, okay, so when you go to break through, right, and you want to achieve, and you go back and you look at your results, you can then say, all right, I did 10 outreaches this day. I did 20 outreaches this day on LinkedIn. Maybe your call setting, right? If you are a revenue generating professional and your livelihood depends on your ability to sell, that means your ability to be able to exchange a product or a service for currency of some form, and in this case, cash or credit card, right? Then you want to make sure that you are doing the actual action steps that it takes to really be able to sell. So if you're in service business, for example, and you understand and know your ideal client, then you can get a list and just call the list. You can call 100 people a day. It's that simple. I would encourage you to set up a CRM and a system so you're systematizing it all so that there's automations in place so it's not crazy. Trust, I've lived the crazy life. I'm currently optimizing my CRM system just to make sure that like what I have been doing flows. But that's like one sure way. If you just did one thing every day, nothing else, one thing every day, you think after 100 days of calling 100 people, you wouldn't have one client or a couple clients? 100% you would. So understanding that we can set goals for ourselves. And I wasn't quite able to figure out how to share the screen yesterday, so I'm not going to go down that path. But what I was able to do, and I'm going to encourage you to do it as well, and I will talk about AI a lot because I use it. I'm not afraid of it. I 100% with my entire being believe it is the future, that it's really unescapable. So what I mean by that is that in the last 48 hours, I was able to take all of my daily outputs, all of my goals, my vision, the yearly plan, broken down into 3 months, work with Claude to be able to systematize all of it. So I understand exactly what my outputs are every day. I understand exactly what the marketing is every day. And I'm able to now go back and have different sheets actually communicating with one another where I have my goal and more like or less a scorecard for every day. And I will show this. I'm not quite done with it, so I don't want to show it again prematurely. But I have a scorecard now for every day. I've got the marketing, so the outputs for marketing, the outputs for sales, and then I have a whole delivery system set up. And where I'm going is setting up a back end right now that's really solid. And then I will be setting up AI agents, but then also doing connecting things. So I've been learning about that quite a bit. So my goal is within the next couple of weeks to have this entire system automated, my emails being checked, all of these different parts of what it is that I'm doing. So all I have to do is do the thing, which is call people, follow up, send proposals, pitch, and actually deliver. All the back end is going to be set up, which is absolutely incredible to think that we live in a time, space, and reality that is a thing. I got to grab a charger quick. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. I bounce in between spaces. Ideally, I would just have one space set up constantly that all I did was show up for this. That is the future I will envision and manifest. So, makes sense? So, setting goals for the day. Now, again, we'll talk a lot about sales. We'll talk about connecting with people. We'll talk about doing the thing that we need to do. But something else that needs systematized and automated is our energy. When we have energy, we show up as very different versions of ourselves, right? So we are more vibrant, we're more energetic, we've got more to pour into people. We can be more loving, more kind, more understanding, more compassionate, more empathetic. All of those things can actually literally be true when we take good care of ourselves. I don't know about you, but I grew up in such a way that nobody was talking about taking care of yourself so that you can do more, be more, and have more ultimately, right? And so, yes, we want to make sure we're getting our business systems in place, but the foundation for success, in my humble opinion, and that is what we do here, is when you want to build a tower or you want to build a house, we can start small, or a hotel, or a high performance facility. On some form of foundation, the foundation really needs to be set, right? It's windy here. It needs to be solid so that as you build up, you don't crumble and fall, right? You hear a lot of people who have achieved certain levels of success and they're stressed or their health has gone to the gutter, or they don't feel good in their bodies, or they don't show up as their best selves. They don't have anything to give. Their fuse is big, and any of the tiniest thing sets them off, right? Well, all people are different, and we all struggle with different things. We all have different personalities. We have different triggers. We have different things that, get under our skin or feel like a little bit of that we want to react to. one, it's how quick can you get over it? And then two, and move on. And then two, it's how well do you take care of yourself? Because the more that you take care of yourself, and by that I mean food, water, sleep, movement, connection, that's simple. The easier it is to show up as a fuller version of yourself or a more full version of yourself so that you can then follow up with those calls, reach out on LinkedIn, make the lunch plan and show up for the lunch plan if you make the lunch plan, right? It's the small things, but it all starts on a solid foundation. And personally, I know the days I don't feel and well rested. You know those days for yourselves, right? I feel like sometimes we are these just targets in life, and everything from an email to a comment to a somebody who's not answering your call is just dart and dart and dart and dart and dart into like our energy bucket or a target. In fact, what's funny is I used to be a teacher, and I would say to the students, these were my Qatari students, the communication style there was, there's a lot of yelling, and I taught PE, and we played a lot of football or soccer in America. And so therefore they were often shouting. I would say, you guys, when you're yelling at me, do you see that target on the back wall? It just feels like energy dagger, energy dagger, energy dagger. And I had to take it. And these were like third graders, second and third graders. So if you've got kids, right, that is constantly coming at you. If you've got a large email, a lot of follow-up, you've got many gigs, you're actually doing well where you're constantly being pulled in all these directions. If you are not taking the time to really center yourself, so systemizing your life, and then continuing to learn to explore ways of how AI can actually enhance, take some of those things off your plate, right? This is the pro there. And so what I want you to do as your goal setting for today is, yes, it can be the hard tangibles that you need to do today, but it's also that vision. If your life was just a little more simple, you had a few things off your plate, what would be 3 things, just 3 things that you could do, that you could find a way for Claude, ChatGPT, I'm leaning into Claude, Claude is exceptional, to be able to help you automate? What about your email? I just learned how to do this today, and I'm literally about to go and implement this. So you've got your email. You've got, what are some other things? Your Slack messages. You've got, right? Start thinking, what in your life acts as a distraction, a pain point that you can eliminate and remove so that you can redirect your energy and your focus towards that which brings you joy or increases your bottom line. That is ultimately what it comes down to. So if you can figure out how to, over the next coming months, think about what that vision is, what do you actually want, what is getting in your way, what's draining your cup, and then come up with some systems. How can you get more sleep? How can you food prep so you're eating more nutritious food, protein, vegetables? How are you getting more water? People make fun of me all the time for carrying one of these around. I have also one that it's not plastic. The water situation here is interesting. It's also interesting that every single city I go to, there's different solutions, and everybody's home is a bit different. So this is an apartment that I'm staying at a friend's right now. My grandma's got a reverse osmosis system, so that's a system. Some people bring in the big jugs. That was big in Qatar as the system. So it's really interesting to see the water systems. So I just kind of have this bad boy, fill it up at the gym, right? And then I carry it around and I drink from it. And I know there's probably a better solution. I bought this one glass filter. It was like $250. I left it at my mom's though, because that's a nomad, bringing glass around probably didn't make a lot of sense. So I didn't take it with me. But that is a solution to be able to get purified water regularly. And I'll probably implement that right now, as I'm saying, since I'm here and will be here for at least a bit of time. And so thinking about these systems, food, water, exercise, sleep, and then connecting with people who inspire you and empower you and want to hold you accountable like we are doing here in this session, right? This is what you want to be thinking about. How can you build a solid foundation so that you can take action steps daily, of which we can further define and refine, right? Because it could change all the time in order for you to actually achieve the results you desire. All right, my friend, that is time for today. I want you to now go ahead, spend a little bit of time thinking through who you're reaching out to, who you're following up with, who you're going to connect with, what events out there are there that you can attend, that you can be present to meet the people who you need to meet, because one connection has the ability to change your life. All right, that being said, remember, your life, your journey, your choice. Go confidently in the direction of your dream and live the life you imagine. Thoreau. Have a wonderful day.